So this next story from Vice, I haven't actually read it. Why I quit being a climate activist. The climate movement is overwhelmingly white, so I walked away. So
the white people, they're trying to save the planet. We must stop them.
But wait. This is actually a common thread we've seen a lot. Like, there's a meme where it says, what's the meme? It's like, damn white people on their, Poles cart out of hat.
Polite children.
Yeah. Like, so there's a meme about this where you name it, there is an article ragging on white people for doing it. Too many firefighters are white. Damn white people in there. Poles cart out of bag, trying to save people from fires. So this is a meme.
Wow.
Yeah, like it's a commonly occurring thing. So I wanted to read a little bit of this and see what your reaction is. Now, I will say every one of these stories has a smidgen of truth to them. Like criticizing people for not supporting certain causes.
Okay.
But for some reason, it's about the color of their skin, which I never quite understood.
Yeah.
Too many people who want to save the planet are white. That's why I'm quitting.
The thing is...
So you don't want to save the planet? You never did? You just don't like white people?
Yeah, I know a-holes that are all different skin colors. And I know really cool people that are all different skin colors. It's so silly.
And I know bad people who are all different skin colors.
I know, exactly. It's like there's people of all different types of person, of all different ethnicity. Like this whole race thing is so silly to me.
Well, so this is why I thought this would be fun because, I read this stuff all day, every day, but you don't.
No, I don't.
So I'd like to get a genuine reaction from you as you enter this world of,
oh man,
white people are bad. All right, so let's read a little bit. They start by saying, oh, what's this? I feel tired when my stories are used for inspiration, but I'm not wanted in the room for negotiations. What is that?
I don't know.
That's a great start.
Great.
In
2013, Typhoon Haiyan battered Southeast Asia, killing 6,300 people in the Philippines alone. The three-story surge rolled over parts of the city of Tacloban, hitting my family's neighborhood the hardest. Schools that were designated storm shelters entombed those taking refuge from the rising waters. My aunt, like many women in the Philippines, a country made up of 7,000 islands, can't swim. She, my uncle, and my cousin were missing or presumed dead. Hey, man, look, I mean this sincerely. I feel for you. I empathize. I'm sorry this is happening. And that's why I do like to fight for the environment. And that's why I would never give up on a cause of doing our best just because too many white people want to do it too.
Well, where do they get to that part? How does that even make sense?
Oh, I know. Right, we'll get to it. I'm just saying, like, listen, man, if you're willing to abandon saving the planet because you don't like white people, I don't think you ever actually wanted to save the planet.
Yeah.
I think you just
don't like
racist. I think you're racist.
White people.
I think you're racist.
Yeah.
She goes on. We only found out they survived, that's good, after 3 grief-ridden days from a family member who had made his way through the ravaged province with the military. Their home and the fish farm they depended on for their livelihood were devastated and they still haven't fully recovered. As a climate activist in Berlin, I felt required to tell my Filipino family's experience during speeches and rallies because this form of storytelling was the only thing that would move a vastly white European audience to an emotional response on climate urgency, even though it was exhausting telling the story, especially since any mention of hurricanes in the news gives me anxiety. I'm going to stop right there. As much as I'd like to give you respect because it's a tragedy, you're going to have to figure out how to get past being anxious over someone saying a word. I mean that sincerely. Like if you're going to do this as an activist and someone says hurricane, and you start feeling anxiety, maybe that's why you should not do this.
That is exposure therapy. And the more you hear the word hurricane, as scary as it is the first few times, the easier it's going to get. But if you run away from it,
then good.
Work.
Then good that she's not running away from it.
Yeah.
I would hear great speech, so emotional when your voice cracked. But after a while, I realized I would only be called upon when climate organizations needed an inspiring story or a diverse voice. Contacts for a campaign or to participate in a workshop for fun when everyone else on the all-white project was getting paid. Well, now she's starting to actually, I'm starting to empathize with her.
Yeah.
But here's the problem. It sounds like so far, it's not that they're white. It's that they're racists who pretend not to be racists and tokenize her.
Right.
To me, it sounds like she's not working for one of these campaigns. It sounds like she's a volunteer.
Well, there you go.
I mean...
Well, but what's about her quitting being an activist because too many white people, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whenever I would question the whiteness of these spaces and how strategies didn't take race into account, I would be met with uncomfortable silences. The last time at a nationwide movement building workshop last April, I was asked, well, then why are you even here? Okay.
Right. Well, are these people even trying to save the environment? Like, it sounds like it's an organization she saw, like, people are just trying to, like, make themselves look good by acting to be activists.
This is awesome, Because, Adam,
What?
we all know this.
Yeah.
But you're exploring and discovering it.
Yeah, yeah.
And coming to the right conclusion.
That's what it sounds like.
Yes, this is called virtue signaling, where people pretend to
Yep.
care about
Man, they love
activist issues.
People do it all the time.
So she's getting mad that they won't bend to what she demands they bend to. They're mad because they refuse to bend to what she wants them to bend to. And both are like, why are you even here? Accusing each other of not being the real activist.
Right.
There's no right way to do this activism.
Oh my God.
I think the reality is they've tried casting a big net over everything, and you can't. Some things don't mesh.
Right.
Some you can't advocate for
exactly.
You can't simultaneously advocate for a Abrahamic religion and the LGBT community when the Abrahamic religion is fundamentalist. They do. Right now in Birmingham, I don't know if you know this, a bunch of well, I don't know about right now, but in the past several months, a school was doing an LGBTQ curriculum, teaching kids about, LGBTQ issues.
Okay.
Muslims protested it.
Okay.
But according to intersectionality, they're both oppressed groups. So which oppressed group takes precedent?
That's a good question.
Well, in my opinion, I don't think your religion should, but the challenge then is, should the school be teaching something? Well, I don't know, man. These activists were complaining that the Muslims were upset because the school was teaching their kids as young as 7 years old about adult, relationships.
Well, I feel like that falls in line with sex education,
right?
In a sense, it's like in your teenage years when you're trying to figure out all that stuff, like you should be talking about it.
7 years old?
7 years old feels too young.
Right. And so that was actually one of the big complaints.
I mean, you're not putting a 7-year-old in sex education.
That's what they were doing.
No, that seems a little too young.
Well, whatever your opinion on it might be,
right?
The issue is that, like what we're seeing here with this climate activist, is they try to cast a big enough tent to be like, Muslims are an oppressed group, and so is the LGBTQ community, and then there's a painting of a woman wearing a rainbow hijab.
Okay.
But in the Middle East, that is like, they do horrible things to people who do stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It doesn't actually make sense.
And even women still, right?
Oh yeah, totally. I can't even drive.
Yeah.
Well, let's get back to climate activism. I don't want to derail too much.
Sure.
She said, so I decided not to be there anymore. After 4 years of helping organize direct actions, speeches, workshops, and countless video calls, I started hiding and declining requests. I was burned out. I felt guilty, like I was letting my people down. But I also felt let down by the lack of support when I had gone to the streets. I stopped talking to people who didn't relate, including friends who were telling me to come join them, now that the marches were becoming more popular. I was also in bed sick a lot. I stayed at home from climate marches telling people my knee was injured and kept to myself, needing to regain all the energy I'd put into organizing. Even being present doesn't always mean being seen or heard. Last week, Ugandan activist Vanessa Nakate found herself cropped from a picture and dialogue as the only African on a youth panel in the Davos World Economic Forum. She said the erasure showed how we are valued. Now, let me tell you something. I can actually understand where she's coming from.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw it to good old Greta Thunberg. Privileged, white, wealthy, telling poor people how to live.
Right.
So you've got, let's actually start from their premise of white privilege. White people tend to be wealthier, have better access. Mm-hmm. Then why are you going to the poorest people and saying, cut off your heating, cut off your electricity, no fuels for you? Guess who's not going to be hurt by that? Greta and her family.
Yeah.
They're
rich.
Yeah, right. The rich, the wealthy, privileged elites who fly around in private jets acting like they're doing the right thing. Rules for thee, but not for me.
Right.
So I can actually sympathize. A lot of these activists and the progressive types, they tend to be wealthy, college educated, white, and she's upset with them. So you know what? I guess if she was to focus on the ideology, not the race, I'd actually agree. But I think she becomes, wrong when she starts blaming the fact that it's just like too many white people. Many other climate activists of color have described similar experiences of tokenism. Maori and disability rights campaigner Kara Sherwood O'Regan found that as an indigenous person at the UN climate conferences, organizers would suggest showing support and passing the mic, but the same people would be the ones taking up space in negotiations and speaking to media. At the same time, because I am Filipino-German and look ethnically ambiguous, it's hard for me to empathize the urgency or danger of climate activism as a Filipina. I am German too, after all. Similar to what Colombian-American climate activist Jamie Margolin said, my presence, quote, towed a line between inclusion and exclusion. So why is this happening? Why is it that these activists are fighting each other and accusing each other of the exact same things?
I don't know. Nothing's even happening. Feels like they're getting jaded because they're trying and they're focusing on the wrong issues, and everyone is focusing on the wrong issues. Not just them, but like the white people they're referring to. They're also not. No one's actually really doing anything for the climate. It's like
they're just complaining about.
They're just complaining about each other. Like, you're not doing this the way we think you should be doing it, and like everyone's saying that. And then what is actually being done?
Here's my theory. Here's what I think. Greta wrote an op-ed where she said it's not really about the environment. It's about ending colonialism and patriarchy and capitalism. Remember that? She wrote that op-ed. It was on some website. And I think that's actually it. So if you're a person of color who actually thinks these people are going to be honest with you about the environment, you show up and they start talking about some other random stuff. You're like, what are you talking? You're not even talking about what just happened in the Philippines. You know why they're not talking about what happened in the Philippines to your family? Because they're trying to end patriarchy and capitalism. They don't care about the environment.
Right.
That's why they say things like, we need to dramatically change the economy to socialism. And then you're like, what if we just, I don't know, invested in nuclear energy and, electric cars? Well, actually hybrid cars are actually worse. We had a story on that one, but we didn't pull that one up. Yeah, actually, I'll mention this real quick. Electric cars, hybrid cars are worse for the environment because they're heavier. So they 3 times worse because they're heavier and people aren't charging them. So they're often just guzzling gas.
What do you mean charging them? Like, I have a hybrid and you don't have to plug it in.
What did the story say? It's like they're
like the full electric vehicles, you mean?
No, hybrid cars. Apparently the story was that they're failing to take care of them properly and run them properly.
But you don't have to plug them in. They're just
not plug them in. I don't know what the story was. I don't have it pulled up. So
I don't have it. I'm sorry. It's in the document.
But they were saying that because they're heavier because of the batteries, that they end up emitting more carbon in the production and whatever or something.
They just call them plug-in hybrid cars, which makes sense since we're plugging them in.
I don't know. So let's see what her conclusion here is. She says, as Sherwood O'Regan said, we need to feel respected and feel valued in our climate activism. Until the rest of the movement understands that our stories may also provide solutions, I'm sharing my activism on my own terms. So I'll wrap this one up and then we'll jump to some of the chat. But I think the problem, as I stated already, the way she's framing it about white people is a really good example of why it's so hard to actually work with them and why she's having trouble. Because the problem is really that she's surrounded by fake activists who don't really care.
They don't care.
And then instead of addressing the fact that they're fake activists, she goes, they're white. So what do you think is going to happen
nailed it.
When she goes out and says this, and then you try and go to a white person, they're going to be like, I think you just don't like white people.
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah. Like you don't actually like...
Or the few white people that she was involved with are not very good people in general. Right. It has nothing to do with their race. They're just not good people.
Well, congratulations, Adam. You are now a bigot.
Of course.
With internalized white supremacy.
Great.
What am I missing? Cis, heteronormative, patriarchist?
Man.
Yeah.
No, it's like, as I said, there's a-holes everywhere. And
but they don't get that. They don't understand. She can't see past their race. She doesn't understand they're lying to you. They're pretending. They're virtue signaling.
Yeah. They're trying to put a token on there to further themselves, to make themselves look good.
Did you see what Pete Buttigieg did?
Nah. What did he do?
I don't want to get too political, but I'm going to do it. At his rally, he had a row of black people standing behind him.
That's it. Just one row.
Well, there's a bunch of people behind him.
Uh-huh.
But in the front row, right behind him, in the crowd was all black people.
Right.
And everyone immediately was like, dude, we know what you're doing.
Like, what is this?
You're trying to make it seem like...
the Barnes & Noble thing.
You're trying... Right. Yeah, Barnes & Noble decided to do diversity book covers to be woke. And the woke attacked them for it. So they're fake activists.
So they pulled it off. Yeah, exactly.
You don't want to say, look, I want to sympathize with this woman, but I kind of feel like she's a fake activist too.
Yeah, it's like, Pride Week in New York. Every single store was like a rainbow. And they don't care. I have lots of friends in that community. I love them all. They're all great people, and, I support them. But it felt like everyone was just jumping on the bandwagon because that's the clickbait thing, It's like, what's
that's exactly it.
They what it is.
Virtue signaling. They don't actually care.
Oh, look how virtuous we are. It's like, no, you're not. You just want people to come in and shop in your store. Mm-hmm. Like, come on. Just say that, and I would actually want to come shop in your store more.
Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. We do the show every Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., sometimes an hour or two. And we do have a full live recorded version of the show that includes a lot of comments and smaller segments you probably don't see. If you want to check that out, you can watch live at 8 p.m. Monday through Friday, or become a member of this channel. And for $5 a month, you get full access to all of the recorded podcasts. Every day after the show, we make them available in the community section of this YouTube channel. So don't forget to subscribe and stick around for more segments and more shows Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Thanks for hanging out, and we will see you all in the next show.